This was pretty much expected. Polls were indicating that this was going to be rejected, but given that it took years in the making, how significant is this?
Well, it's pretty significant because this means that the Constitution that we have currently in place that dates all the way back to the dictatorship is going to remain. And this comes at a time where there's been a little bit of a political struggle in passing any reforms by the president's president's administration. And so this was their second attempt, and it was a result of big protests that started back in 2019 that were as a result of subway fare increases, but ultimately led to Chileans going to the streets and asking for bigger, wider changes. So all these proposals, all these texts, they've all been rejected, and we kind of got into this result where there's not really a new text, and we're going to have the same status quo.
Yeah, so years in the making, 2 attempts and no change. So what's next? Now what?
Well, Boric's administration says there won't be a third attempt. However, a lot of analysts have said that this won't really bring a closure to this process because these situations, these issues within the people are still going to be present. And there's not going to be a change that will address whatever took these people to the streets back in 2019. And so what people expect is that there won't be a third attempt. However, once the presidential elections come around in 2025, that this topic will resurface and there might be another attempt, or there still will be modifications to the current constitution. Back in August, they passed a law that lowers the requirement to change already any amendments within the constitution that's already been established.
This was really a key drive by Boric. I do wonder how this will tie his hands, even as he has 2 more years left before the 2025 elections. But Carolina, tell us a little bit about what market reaction we're expecting when markets come online in Chile on Monday.
Well, markets already priced in this result. The polls in the past couple of weeks have showed that this was going to be the result of the elections, despite the margin narrowing. So there shouldn't be much of a reaction. It should be pretty muted. However, this, in a way, does provide some certainty in that this process is over in terms of bringing a new whole process of choosing new constitutions and starting this whole process again. However, the uncertainty, as I mentioned before, will still remain because there won't really be any changes that were requested by the people.